Troopers and grinders, welcome to the war zone, or in this case, maybe more apropos, the squared circle, or if you're in Ryan Garcia's world, a padded cage without the key, a padded cell, which would honestly be best for humanity. But if you're here in the live chat, you're at the Tank and Skate podcast with the MMA junkies, most recent and yet most devout followers, Hank the Tank and the boy. On my left, the Idaho Skatesman, here to cover the best in boxing. Yeah, that's right. You heard right. The sport that's almost on the way out, the one that's losing all its viewership, but is surviving off the lifeblood of Ryan Garcia and old-ass Mike Tyson. That's right. It's us two here to save boxing as a sport, along with that Ed guy. I don't remember what his name is. But that's not the point, because we're here to be the best in boxing, the most prestigious in boxing, and even the extra 5 fights they put on the prelims that they alerted me of at 11 p.m. at night, and that was really fun. So I'm your co-host, Hank the Tank. Right here is Idaho Skatesman. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show. I did not relax in preparation for my picks.
What's going on, guys? So today's going to be a preview of Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. Hank took the liberty of doing the research for the undercard picks. He's going to go over his analysis and, what he thinks, his predictions for the fight. Mm-hmm. We're going to skim over some of the other promotions going on, PFL, Octagon, and I believe there's one more. And then firstly, I'm going to give a recap of the Muay Thai fights this morning from Lumpini Stadium. One championship did.
Fantastic.
And so before we start, is there anything you want to say, Hank? This is our second show, and I appreciate everybody being in here, all the support we've got. It's pretty fucking dope.
I am surprised how much work it took just to do picks. Like I said in the introduction, they did not have all the fights on the card for Garcia versus Haney. I just realized it recently. It was sort of like a nice burden because at least I got to have some fun picking more, making comments. So, it's not really a job if you're having fun. But at the same time, Tapology is just a bastard sometimes. And so can boxing promotions. Did you know that? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, Tapology is not the best resource for boxing events.
No.
But yeah, we appreciate your hard work nonetheless. So
thank you.
Let's get right into it. So as is tradition for me, I skipped the first 2 MMA fights. They usually put 2 MMA fights on the one championship morning card. So I'm usually like half awake and I don't watch those. So
yeah,
I came in right at Petnam Kong and Mong Kolpet versus Iko Ata. So this was a decent fight. Pet knocked him down the first round with a flying knee, and then Ata didn't look great. It wasn't looking good for Japan early on, and Petnam Kong wins the unanimous decision.
Yikes! Looks like
next fight. Yeah. Next fight was Pet Sikmok, and I'm struggling through all these names, but versus Yuki Kashihara. Kashihara, he just outpointed him. Was a decent scrap, and I'll just say there wasn't too much to recap on this particular night. Usually, those one cards are bangers, but this one I wasn't checked in super good for it. So
it didn't look like a lot of bangers.
There was a man named Copter who
Helicopter?
Yes, his name was Copter. He fought Ata's brother, Takuma Ata, and Ata came in stone-faced, stoic, and he got the KO in the second round. Was a good fight.
Nice.
We then had Thailand versus Uzbekistan. Siwakorn fought a man named Jurayev. You got the EV, so he's from the Eastern Bloc. He ends up losing the unanimous decision.
The giraffe?
Yes. And then we had a fight between Luopong and a man named Yod Kitty. So
sounds like a rapper name from 2019.
Totally, yeah. So Luopong, we found out, was a 17-year-old who used to fight to pay off his father's debts. That's how he became a Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, how fun.
The first exchange of the fight, Yod Kitty knocks out Luopong with a body shot. And I made the very smart-ass remark that I believe Luopong paid off his father's debts by taking dives and betting against him.
Yep, Yakuza.
Very hilarious. Then we had Petsuya versus a man named Prom. This was actually a decent scrap, and Petsuya knocked out Prom in the second round with a head kick, a very clean, beautiful head kick.
That was one of my picks. So that happened.
Nice. I then fell asleep
as you do.
for the Kai Mu Cow. I believe that actually means shark, if I'm not mistaken. So I did not watch that fight versus a man named Pet Paruhat. Then we had Rambong versus Pet Puya. And that was a very hotly contested, like, probably best fight of the whole card, war, that Rambong ended up winning a split decision. We had a man named Yog Thong Tai versus Petnam Gam. I was pretty checked out. I was pretty checked out about this point. Yod Pong wins the decision, and in the main event, you had Yaman versus Joaquim Orgai.
Yeah.
And he ends up winning first round TKO. He knocked him down like three times. And the referee Yaman knocked down Joaquim about 3 times, and the ref just had seen enough at that point, so he was cooked. So that is my very terrible recap of one fight night. Like I said, those cards are always like the best cards of the week. And this one was not the greatest.
Yeah.
So hey man, when you do a fight card every Friday morning, sometimes some are not going to be great, and here I am with my one championship hat.
And it's at that point that people who wake up very early regret their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I always like it when I have a day off, catch some Muay Thai. But hey, it is what it is. So that is my terrible recap. Did it pretty quick.
It's not terrible.
But yeah, there you go, man. So what do you want to get into next?
Maybe we could go over some of my locks for the weekend. Or just do some just setups before we get to the boxing card.
Yeah, so I have a lot more to say about PFL. So let's go over all your picks for all the other regional or whatever shows, and then we'll kind of skim over the PFL card. So I'm interested to hear your locks for the weekend.
Yeah, the Pure Fun League, that's what we call
it. And not to mention, Hank has started a new Tapology page for this channel.
One specifically for this channel, the Tank and Skate podcast, the Hank version. And hopefully we get an Idaho version in the future. Actually, I think that Idaho would just go with his own picks on his personal page. Keep up his own.
That's what I would do.
Because he's not a coward like me.
Let's go over them locks, man.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, let's look at the lock I got for PFL. First one I have is Brendan Lonane versus Pedro Carvalho. I think this guy's a can. He's lost more than he's won. He lost to Aaron Pico, Jeremy Kennedy, Piotr Niedzelki. They got decent records, but it's getting to the point where he's losing to 7-0 guys and 11-4 guys. And it's clear that they're just setting this guy up for failure most of the time against decent opponents. I believe that last time we saw Brendan Lonane, he was fighting for, he's during the regular season, he lost to Jesus Pinedo who ended up being the PFL Bellator champion during their little crossover show. And so that's not a bad loss to have. He lost in the first round. But before that, he was on a win streak via leg kick, straight right to punches and knees against Bubba Jenkins, Marlon Moraes. He was on a 5-fight win streak. And
he was the PFL like season champion as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so you can't completely discredit him going into this fight, coming off of one loss against someone who's now a world champion. Everybody's counting him out. At the very minimum, I see this guy going to a decision with Pedro and winning. Any other result, I don't see him getting knocked out by someone who's not on Pinedo's level. And it's clear that Carvalho is not on Pinedo's level, and they're planning on this being a complete wash and a squash match. So I see Lonane finding a way to win. Some people are doubting him. There are definitely people who say, oh, it's not going to be by knockout. And if not, so be it. This guy knows how to survive and make it to a decision. So I see him winning. And if you go through the rest of the card, let me look. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, the other fights are close. This one was the most clear to me that this one was just a can-crushing contest.
Okay, so we got one Hank the Tank special lock-in for Brendan Loughnane. I'm not entirely sure how you say his name. I have to hear him say it.
You'd have to travel to I think you'd have to travel to northern
Scotland or
London to find it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the other cards, man? What do you got? What's your locks?
Let's take a look. ACA in Russia.
It already happened. It's happening right now. I think the main.
It is happening right now, but we have not gotten to my lock yet.
Perfect.
His name is Evgeny Arakin, and he is taking on Cow Bittencourt. 14-8 record.
I think that fight already happened.
Oh, really?
I believe he should. Like as soon as we hopped on the stream, I believe that was happening.
And okay, so it's happening. I hope that the result hasn't come in yet, but we'll see. So this guy lost to Arbi Aguayev, who did not have the best record going in. He's an old veteran, and Arakin has been on a roll as of late and has gotten, let's see, got a knockout in his last contest, beat another guy who had
the fight's over for sure.
Okay. Who was the victor in that one?
I have no idea. I'd have to ask Isha.
Yikes. Well, in the meantime, as you asked,
you got to stay up on these things. Hank woke up late today, guys. So
who won this fight? Yeah, sorry about that. I cannot afford Russia time.
No Chill says he's putting his entire life savings on Loughnane. So this is the first test of
our
Hank the Tank special lock-in portion of the show.
Okay, so we got to have a first rule for the channel. If you say that you're putting your house on the line for my picks, it better be a joke, or else I'm banning you from the channel. I am not going to be fiscally responsible for anybody's picks, anybody's bets. I can be responsible for people's picks. I will not be responsible for your bets. So you got nobody to blame but yourself. It all started in Vegas back in 1984. Okay, that's when it all started for you. So you got to apply yourself to other things.
So anyway, got some other,
let's get some more locks. Cage Warriors 171, a very enjoyable promotion at times. Sean Clancy Jr., I got him as a lock against Lucas Rodriguez, who has a 6-6 record and has lost to Anthony Orozco with a 2-0 record. Has lost to a 9-4 guy, has lost to a 6-2 guy, has lost to a 3-3 guy, and now he's up against Sean Clancy Jr. And let me look at how he has finished his fights. Rear naked choke, punches, rear naked choke, all within the first round. And so it's clear that they're setting up this guy for a mauling. Sean Clancy Jr. has 2 belts on his shoulders on the Tapology page. So, hey, that's impressive. But it seems like he's a first round one and done. And against a 6-6 guy, I don't see him being given any problems. So I'm ready to pick him by first round submission. I would say. Pretty easy one to figure out.
Perfect.
And then let me look. I think there's one last one, and I made a little meme of it in the Discord. I showed it as the shape of an octagon instead of saying that it was octagon. So people who know or are in the know will get the message. So let's take a look at octagon. Octagon 56.
Right.
Yes.
Octagon.
Sorry, I got phlegm in my throat. I don't know what was going on. I got good old George Staines. He stains the mat every time he enters with his crotch sniffing energy. He won his last fight by guillotine choke. He has beaten 9-1 guys, 4-3 guys, 6-3 guys, 9-4 guys, and he is taking on a 1-1 guy who lost his last fight against a 3-2 guy. And the one thing that is concerning to me is that he did beat a 1-0 guy right now. And technically Staines is a 1-0 guy as well. But he has a really good amateur record. He's been a champion before. He's beaten undefeated fighters. And he seems like a guy who will eventually lock in the submission, especially on someone who has very little experience on a professional level. I see another submission for him late within the fight, round 3 submission. I think this kid's too young and too much of a prospect to not get it done. It's going to be a great highlight on their Twitter, is what I'm predicting.
Cage Warriors always puts on a good show, man. So
they do. Well, no, that was Octagon. That was the Octagon.
Oh, Octagon. Same with them.
Yeah, they both do, actually. I have had a troubled history with Octagon, though. I think I want to make it clear to everybody, be careful, because in my past, when I was young and naive and inexperienced, I was doing bad Octagon locks, and they would lose. It was clear as day, 100%, 99%, 98% favorites, and they would lose. So maybe that's not a symptom of me being wrong, but rather the promotion being like a Ryzen, and you never know what's going to happen. I'm just trying to find some logic in the sea of chaos that is Octagon and Cage Warriors, all right? So take my locks.
Fair enough.
Still go.
So are those all your locks for the weekend?
I think they are.
Let's recap them real quick. So who exactly?
So we've got George Staines. He's not going to stain. He's not staining the mat with his blood. And Cage Warriors, we have Sean Clancy Jr. by submission round 1, and with Staines it's round 3. Then we're going to the PFL. Who we got? Lonane. We got Lonane probably by decision, but if you want to be clever and funny, have him KO the other guy in the first round. And then ACA, which has just finished. But if there's a betting line somewhere, maybe in like California or in Japan right now, because I'm sure that the fight's still going on in Japan. If there are any live bets, put your money on Erikin by second round.
Yeah, I probably should look up that result. I don't know exactly who won, but yeah. In the future, Tank will be, not late with his ACA pick, and that shit happens really early. It's in Russia, so so quickly, let's go over the entire PFL card. Let's just skim right over it. Do you have the card pulled up?
I'm just about to.
Okay. So first fight of the night is Romain Debian versus Thad Jean. I believe I've heard of Thad Jean before. Let's see.
He looks like
and this is welterweights. This is a welterweight contest.
Ooh, won by punches. I like that.
Yeah, it looks like Tapology's got Thad Jean as a huge favorite versus the 10-4 Romain. Thad is 6-0 out of Fort Lauderdale. Romain is French, so hey, there you go, right there. Always bet against the French.
Yes, they will surrender.
One thing I've learned in MMA. So I don't think I'm going to make a pick on this one because I just don't know the men very well. Yeah. But
if you don't know someone very well, it's not good to get into a committed relationship.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've learned that through the years.
Yeah, it applies to MMA in real life.
We got a man. Next fight, we got a man at featherweight. We got a man named Tyler Diamond versus a man named Otto Rodriguez. Tyler Diamond is 12-3 on a 2-fight losing streak, and Otto is 14-1, won all 5 of his last fights. Otto is out of Brazil.
Yeah.
Tyler's out of Sacramento, near our friend Hank here. Do you have any insight on this fight?
It looks like Otto Rodriguez is an unbelievable prospect who is winning basically any way he wants. He is winning by submission pretty much, so I think eventually he's going to run into somebody who's going to take the wind out of his sails when it just becomes a stand-up war and he's not able to take somebody down. So that's something to be a little concerned about. But let's look at Tyler's record. He is losing to people by submission. It seems pretty clear as day to me who you should be.
And he's out of Team Alpha Male. That's not a good look.
Yeah, that's not good. He's
losing by submission.
He's
and Otto Rodriguez is the Pitbull Brothers training partner. So.
Nice. Well,
yeah, let me go with Otto.
50-50. I'd go with Otto as well. If there's one thing I know about Team Alpha Male guys, they're only training to figure out Dominic Cruz, and they don't really know anything else. So, he's going to be ready.
At least they did a good job there.
Yeah, so I feel like Otto's going to just smash, brother. I'm going to crotch sniff him and then find the gilly, brother.
So next fight is a welterweight contest between Don Madge and Brendan Ward. I think this is a low-key banger. This should probably be higher up on the card too. In all fairness,
it's PFL. Don't worry, they're going to mess
now.
Up
Don Madge, I'm recently hip to Don Madge. He was like pretty good as far as I knew. The problem with Don Madge is he is a South African, and just generally speaking on the regional scene in South Africa, outside of somebody like Druskus, when you see a lot of success on the South African regional scene, it's not doesn't constitute like a great career, future career. Now Brendan Ward is a slugger. We all know what he's about. He's going to go in there and try to finish you. So I'm actually really stoked on this fight.
Nice.
I think this will be a good one. You kind of got like the technical ability of Don versus the brawling of Brendan. So which one's gonna hold out the longest? Let me go Brendan Ward. I still got a lot of faith in our guy Brendan Ward, and I think we'll give him a 3rd round KO.
Nice, good stuff. If that's the case, I'll probably believe in Ward as well. I mean, he lost to Storley, which is not the worst loss to have.
No, I rate Storley pretty highly.
Yeah. So let's give the kid a chance. One more chance to redeem himself. Also, the junkie is going absolutely batshit in our live chat, talking about Filippo Froze winning by split decision. Wow. It's incredible. Oh my God! See, I called it. Keep going. Don't get an aneurysm, but be relatively excited. If you need to, you should do the silent and not the ah. And don't hurt your lungs. Don't hurt your throat. Just keep it silent.
Okay. So our next fight on PFL. Sorry to interrupt you. Okay. Our next fight on PFL is Laureano Staropoli versus Murad Ramazanov. Laureano is 31 from Argentina, and Murad is 28 from Russia, obviously. So I remember Murad. I remember this fight. His last fight, he went up against Roberto Soldic and won. And it was the first round, and he kneed him in the nuts, and the fight was over, right? And I remember this because shortly after that was the fight in Denver with Roberto Soldic, where he fought on the Demetrius Johnson card. I was there live, and he got smoked by Kazakhstan. We did not get to see what Murad was going to do, but he was coming off a little long layoff, so I think one kind of wanted to give him a layup. Now, Staropoli, I've seen fight where I don't necessarily remember he's an Ares fighter. I'm sure Isha could give us some insight on this fight, but he won his last fight in the PFL by TKO 6 months ago. So you got kind of a more active older guy in Staropoli versus Murad, who was in 1, probably getting frozen out. And he fought Roberto a year and 4 months ago, and he just needed nuts and nothing happened. So I'm sure Murad's hungry. He wants to get in there and do something, and he did not. He won his last 4 fights that he had in 1, aside from the draw. So let me go Murad. I'm gonna go Murad. I'm gonna go decision because I don't know a lot about him. But
I think I'm gonna go with Murad as well. As much as I sort of I credit Staropoli as a prospect, I think nobody loses to these Russian fighters with power. And there's probably going to be just a blemish on his record, and then they'll go back to giving him someone with a 2/3 win record for him to smash up before he keeps going to the top. And this is not a loss to be ashamed of, but every once in a while, like you got a Brian battle versus a Hernat every once in a while, where it's just a bump along the road, and then they give you somebody you actually have a fighting chance against. I don't know why they booked this, but they did. So poor Star.
Yeah, and I actually would like to quickly say something about the PFL's
booking style.
Yeah, and note, and I think the most notable recent example of this I can point out was what is that chick's name that fought on the last card? Not the last. Was it the last card? Yeah, she
Let me.
She's like a young prospect they're trying to push. Anyway, so they matched up her with a can, and then they matched up Liz Carmouche with her rival Juliana Velasquez, right? And so what I noticed about the PFL structure is if they have somebody they want to be their season champion or at least fight for that, they will give them the favorable side of the bracket. Meanwhile, when they have somebody that they are not necessarily looking to push, they'll match them on the tougher side of the bracket. So you win in the first round KO, you get more points. You have a tougher opponent, it takes you longer to finish them, you get less points. So yeah.
Oh wait,
I don't know about that.
It's Dakota Desheva, right?
Yes, that's her.
Yeah, I like Dakota too. But yeah,
but
you're gonna give him some chance.
Yeah, they're trying to get her to be that win the tournament basically. Which again they should, right? Because they need stars. But I think it's just kind of
won by a first round KO.
There you go.
Quite a coincidence.
So yeah, it's just it's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, our next fight, Brett Johns versus Timur Khizriev. Timur is 14-0. Brett Johns is 20-3. He's 32 out of Wales. So I mean, I think the obvious pick here would be Timur. Brett Johns, I don't remember a lot of his fights. I know I've seen them. I think just going Timur decision is a smart pick here. Do you have any insight on this fight?
Timur looks like someone if they bought a cheap Zabit Nurmagomedov costume at a Party City.
Yeah.
And then Pret.
I think I actually saw him last Halloween there.
Yeah, no, I did see him, and as soon as I saw him, I dropped all my candy and I ran away. Let's see with Brett Johns, he beat an 11-8 guy. He beat a 12-3 guy, and that's in Bellator. And he lost to Danny Sabatello, which is sort of a telling sign in terms of, and he lost to Aljamain Sterling. Those are both telling signs in terms of how he's going to do against a grappler.
Yeah,
with Khizriev.
And again, another testament to the PFL matchmaking system. How they obviously want Timur to get that dub.
Wait, hold your horses. Hold your horses. I don't see one win from him by submission.
Yeah, that's why I'm going decision.
He might be part of the new Dagestani striker generation.
Hey, it's Big Red. What do you know?
Really? You think he's only good at grappling?
The ghost of Big Red has arrived. What is up, my man Dylan? Good to see you, man. So our next fight, I think we're both pretty locked in on Timur, right?
Yeah, I think we're locked on Timur until further notice. But if Brett Johns wins, I called that it'll be closer.
So we got Adam Borges versus Enrique Barzola, a featherweight contest next. I like this fight a lot. I think this is going to be a good one. Both these guys, want to stand and trade, and have a technical kickboxing match, I think you got more the power and knockout threat probably on the Adam Boric side, and you probably got more of the cardio and the relentlessness on the Enrique Barzola side. So Enrique, both men had a title opportunity
not too long ago
in Bellator, and Enrique lost those obviously, and Adam lost his to Patricio, and this was a year ago. So Enrique's been the more active guy, and Adam has fought sparsely the last 3 years. So interesting to see what he looks like coming back after a loss to Patricio. Took him to decision. I think that's worth something. And I think with that being said, I'm actually going to go against the more active guy. I'm going to go Boric decision just to play it safe. What say you?
I think so too. Not too long ago, I think I picked Carlos Jr. after he'd been gone for 2 years. Even though it was a long layoff, he still had it. He still had it. And he just locked in the submission like it was nothing. It was just prime form. It's like you're either going to get a Carlos Jr. Yummy, feed your happy Carlos Jr. or you're going to have Colby Covington, who's absolutely rotten after a year or two. And so it's really hard to tell sometimes with these guys. We're not there in the gym. We don't know how well they're doing during practice or if they're drinking beers and eating steak in Brazil. But it seems like with the PFL guys, they usually come back because they know that PFL has sort of a yearly annual system and they know they're going to take time off. So I feel like PFL is usually an organization that benefits the people who take their time off. I feel like Boric is probably going to come back in style, like you said. And he's only had 2 losses. How hard is this guy going to be?
Dylan, do you want to hop in? Talk about the PFL? I know that you're a very knowledgeable PFL person, so the invite's there as long as it's all good with Hank. And I'm going to address this last comment before we get going on the next couple fights. We're just skimming over this card. There's no other big MMA fights going on, so no, PFL is it's like, for me, now a lot of people might take this controversially. I used to watch, cable TV, and that 70s show Seinfeld, right? These are all Friends. These are all background shows for me. I'm waiting for Family Guy to come on in the evening, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is like a background. I'm not that interested in this card, but that's why we're just kind of skimming over it. So,
it's the alternative. It's on.
He says he has practice going. Let me attempt to send him.
Well, he said he would be he would otherwise be joining immediately.
Oh, got you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So anyway, next fight, another interesting one.
Bubba.
It's Bubba Jenkins versus Kai Kamaka III. But we all know, I think we both know these guys fairly well. Bubba Jenkins won the PFL championship 1 year, and then he lost it 2 years in a row to pretty decent fighters, Brendan Loughnane the first time, and then most recently his last loss was to Jesus Pinedo, who remarked earlier as being a tough opponent.
And won the PFL Bellator championship.
The problem with this fight to me is I think that Bubba can smother Kai.
I think so too.
The problem is the age I see from Bubba, the 36-year-old fighting at 145. Kai has not hit his prime yet. He's probably right there. So I think that this is a close fight, and it could be a good one. I don't think I'm going to make a pick on it just to be safe. What say you?
He barely won against Henry Corrales, who was a 21-6 guy. So he's got sort of a similar record to Bubba Jenkins. But then again, Corrales just lost to Aaron Peter. So
I'm sorry, I gotta put Isha's comment up on the screen.
Oh my god!
So Isha,
it was a layup. It was a gimme.
Our friend Tank said that Erican was a lock for the night.
No!
He says brutally.
No! Why? No sense. I
Hey,
hate
man.
this sport.
Just gotta come in a little earlier, Hank. No big deal. But yeah, give us your analysis on the Kai Kamaka versus Bubba Jenkins fight.
14-8. Oh God, I can't think straight. I feel like I'm cursed. Okay, let me think. He had a split against somebody who's mostly just supposed to act as a layup for most guys.
Appreciate you, Pullman.
He beat him, and he only barely beat him by split. So if he's gonna
Mhm.
beat him by split, and then he goes on a big losing streak, he wasn't that great in the first place. Whereas Bubba Jenkins seems to be losing to people who are destined for better things. And so I feel
Good
like
point.
he's going to act as like a gatekeeper in this sense, and I think he's going to keep that gate. So I see him just smothering
gatekeepers
boring
do.
affair.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not gonna make a pick on that one. Our next fight, Guitian Mimuchi versus Neiman Gracie, number 2. And again, this is another fight that's like, why, right? They just fought.
Yeah.
Not all that long ago. A year ago, and they're running it back. They don't want these guys to be in that tournament final, I believe. But you know, he got knocked out by Goiti Yamamuchi, which is kind of hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But Neiman Gracie's a good fighter, man. I don't think he's like a terrible fighter, me personally. He's a serviceable welterweight. Goiti went on a good winning streak, 3 fights in a row, and then he ran into Michael Venom Page, which I remember that fight. He kicked him in the leg like immediately, and then the fight was over. It's hilarious. So, I mean, hey, you knock out a guy in your previous fight. I think you can do it again. I'm gonna go Yamamuchi.
Look at Dylan's chat. He has these questions. He's very specific. Yeah, you'll hear that on the next podcast once I've watched it fully. Or I could just look at the result on Twitter, just the knockout itself, and give my reaction. It's going to involve depression and me getting out a tub of ice cream and crying into some tissue paper and then taking a long warm shower. But yeah, I'd have to set up the technology for that.
Yamamuchi versus Gracie. What you got?
The question is, do you have faith in Yamauchi? Was the first knockout like, oh, he just caught him perfectly, or did he completely outclass him? I think there's lots of ifs, ands, and buts. He's 35 years old. Gracie's 35 years old. Yamauchi's only 31 years old. I wouldn't knock Yamauchi for losing to Venom Page. We clearly saw that Holland in brutal fashion, and so I think I'm gonna have faith in Yamauchi and say that he finds a way to win again.
Yeah, that's why I'm going decision, the safe route, and also like all Bellator cards from like a year ago. I watched most of them, but this is back when I was getting violently high, smoking weed all the time. So mostly I'm just making fun of them and just having fun with the Rush Hour guys. So I do not remember this fight clearly, but I do remember that I did watch it.
Yeah. I gotta get some water really quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right back.
So our next fight is Gabriel Braga, who I believe was supposed to fight on the PFL Tour card versus Justin Gonzalez, who has won 2 out of his last 3, lost to Timur Khizriev, who's fighting on the card as well, Mads Brunel, and Aaron Pico. So, I mean, dude, Justin Gonzalez, pretty good, decent featherweight. I have not seen a Gabriel Braga fight. Have you?
Have I? Let's see.
I guess I have. You beat Chris Wade. Marlon
oh my God. He beat Jesus Pinedo. Oh wait, he lost. Never mind.
Yeah, I think just not knowing too much and knowing that
dude, everybody's getting beat by Jesus Pinedo.
I know this guy is a fucking killer, I guess. I'm gonna go with Braga. Yeah, he's got some better wins on his resume than Justin Gonzalez. I think this is gonna be a good fight though. But ultimately I think Braga will get it done by decision.
And he lost to Timur as well, who again is not it doesn't seem like a submission guy. It seems like he mostly does his stuff on the feet or on the ground with no submissions, and he wins. So seems like this guy can win in a few ways. I'd probably go with Brago.
Exactly. So we got the return of one Logan Storley versus Shamil Musayev. And again, I like Logan Storley. I think a lot of people hate him because of his style. Sure, why not? And also losing to Yaroslav. People don't like him. That's fine. But I don't know a lot about his opponent. Looks like he knocked out Alexei Konchenko in his last fight, which I think he's like an old washed fighter. Am I right?
Who? Musayev?
Alexei Konchenko. It's a name I've heard.
But let me look at the record. Let me look at the record real quick.
I think this is a pretty easy win for Logan Storley. Even though he is going up against a Russian, I don't really see.
Oh yeah, he's losing to every single person except for Gleison Tebow.
Yeah, so I think Alexei Konchenko is like a washed fighter. Yeah. So yeah, let's go Logan Storley decision. What say you?
Let me just look at how Storley won his last couple fights. He won one by ground and pound against Ward, which ain't bad.
Mm-hmm. But that was a bad matchup for Mr. Brennan Ward.
That's true. That's a tough one. He had a draw with Mikhail Pietrek, who's only like 10-4. Yeah, I'm going with Storley. And I'd say I don't think he wins by knockout because these Dagestanis will never die. I think he'll win by decision.
Yeah, and that's not really Logan's style. Again, I'm pretty high on Logan Storley. I think we're just gonna go past Dylan's comment. I think he's just trolling. But so our next fight, Brendan Loughnane versus Pedro Carvalho. Weird. Bellator had guys named Pedro Carvalho and Pedro Carvalho fighting on the same card. But
right.
I think Hank did a good job breaking down this fight earlier. I think Brendan Loughnane is the choice. I'll just make a little case for Pedro. Young guy, had some good wins in Bellator. Was up and down. He beat Mads Burnell, who is a tough opponent. And then just kind of ran into the hammers. I remember his title opportunity against Patricio in their featherweight Grand Prix when I don't know if you remember this, but when they were doing the picks. It was actually really cool. They had like all the fighters together to make the picks, and Pedro called him out. Patricio said, "All right, let's do it," and he knocked him out immediately in the fight. Right. It was vicious. So I don't think I think he got Patricio a little too soon in his career, and he never really recovered from that.
Nope.
I think he's pretty washed. You can guarantee that the win over Mads Burnell is a pretty good win, but
he lost to JJ.
I think that Brendan Loughnane is the guy here to pick, and also like I'll just say this: the featherweight division in Bellator, though not on par with like the UFC, I thought it was a pretty decent division, and the fights weren't bad. So I'm interested to see what happens here in this fight. I think Loughnane's a pick. I think that Loughnane, his pressure and the pace that he's going to put on Pedro is going to be, he's going to wear him down. Whether he gets, I think it'd be a UD or like a third round KO submission. I'll go third round KO, but yeah, he could get it done earlier. I think that's just a safe route to go. So
sounds good to me. Either way, I have him winning. So hopefully he doesn't let me down and I don't go
right
0-2 on my tank and skate picks. God forbid.
Yeah, no, this is actually Isha. I'm going to address Isha's comment here. He says eyebrows. Oh my God. Hey, we got some, this is like a podcast with some fucking dope eyebrows, man. I mean, you want some good eyebrow content. I think this is the channel for you.
That's right.
Stop
talking about Dolgov, Isha. We're talking about our beautiful stellium eyebrows. Our genetically enhanced hair.
Our main event of PFL 3 on ESPN Plus is Andre Koreshkov versus.
You want to talk about eyebrows, Isha? You want to talk about eyebrows? Hair buster. You'll see some eyebrows.
We got Andre Koreshkov versus Magomed Umalatov. Sounds like Molotov or something. Man, I want Andrei Korshkov to win. My brain says Andrei Korshkov, but I don't know enough about Ulmatov. So do you know anything about Mr. Ulmatov?
He won his.
Looks like he's undefeated in PFL.
He won his penultimate fight by hooks. What the hell are hooks? How is that a submission?
Not sure. Maybe it's like a WWE type finish.
Yeah, no clue. He beat Naib Lopez, who was a 16-0 guy. He's beating 18-3 guys. And then
Only browse account on the way, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, beat a guy from Jordan, which isn't much of a win. Yeah, he just seems like an undefeated prospect who just finds a way to win. Whereas Korshov, God, he's winning fights via split against Lorenz Larkin.
Yeah, but how about that spinning back kick he landed on that can, and he broke like what 3
on
or
a can?
4 of his
He
ribs.
beat a can.
Ren counter. Yeah, that was a good fight. I mean, or that was a good win. I thought. I mean,
that's true.
Bellator, so whatever. But
take what you can.
I want Korshkov to win, but I'm not making a pick on this fight. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know anything about Magomed. So
hooks weren't a submission; they were boxing hooks on the feet. Still a 10-3 guy. Well, I mean, I will say it seems like Korshov is beating guys by finish most of the time, whereas Umalatov, when it comes to the actually tough opponents, sometimes he just beats them by decision. So
he's 32, so 14-0 at 32. I don't know what to make of that, and fighting only in PFL and whatever. I think his last 5 fights have been in PFL, so not sure what to make of that, but yeah. That's
I guess I'll jump on the Korshov bandwagon. Why not?
Dude, I would love to see him win, but I don't know. I really do like Korshkov's style, but yeah. I think that's it for us for the MMA of the weekend and Muay Thai and whatever. You have anything else you want to say?
Main event. I think PFL has been on a string of decent cards now that it's back to like the tournament format and it's got a bunch of guys getting mixed and matched. But I feel like I hope that they find a card on the level of PFL too to pique my interest again.
That's a good one.
I think it seems pretty clear it's not probably going to be on the same level with this card, just because there are less guys that I recognize and less guys that seem to be.
Yeah, I'll have to counter you though and say that the weight classes for this card are definitely more interesting to me personally. Welterweights and featherweights. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily like pumped for this, but I'll watch it. I'll check it out.
You can never knock a card before it happens. You
right.
can only say it after the fact. There are so many cards that look absolutely horrendous on paper that then become the best card of the weekend.
Right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all the homies in the City Life stream for this one. Yeah. But yeah, we'll go over to boxing and let's go from the bottom up, and then because I have more to say about the main event than any of the other fights on the card. So let's go over it. Hank did a lot of research for this card, so I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
It's interesting. I wanted to read to you a snippet that I typed ahead of time for this card that ended up being super dated in hindsight. So I posted this on my Google Doc on Wednesday, April 17th in the afternoon. Only 6 bouts for Haney versus Garcia. Big boxing pay-per-view draw. Oh my God, what the fuck am I even typing? For a big boxing pay-per-view to draw people in that are interested. It seems a little cheap, but there are some big bouts. So perhaps the lack of fights is to make up for more rounds in these fights. But what if there are knockouts? Then there's just endless stalling between the fights. I'm happy to have this pay-per-view in New York. It'll be big energy from the crowd and no blood and oil dictators there, which I still remain true to, because I mean, with the Saudi cards, there is a little bit of energy, but I feel like in New York, there's just something in the air during a knockout, and there's just more hype involved usually, especially for big pay-per-views. But I said that before, that there were only 6 cards. I was proven horribly, horribly wrong, because they then added 5 more fights to the card. And I said, I guess they listened to me as I was typing. Now there are 11 bouts, and nobody knows who the boxers are or why they're fighting each other.
I mean, really, Hank, I'll have to stop you and just say I don't think you have seen too many boxing cards because that's a boxing card for you, man.
Yeah. They'll have no bouts, and then all the bouts,
especially a pay-per-view. And also, Tapology is not the best resource for that. So BoxRec is where you need to go to do research for your next boxing cards, I believe.
So you think they'll have the bouts on there way more ahead of time?
I
It
know
does
they will.
seem to me, however, like these fights that they added are a little thrown together, because they got just complete
You have to keep in mind that it's an Oscar De La Hoya Golden Boy promotion. So,
of course,
Golden Boy is a lot like Top Rank, where it's a good place to hide out for prospects. They do a great job of building guys up. So Oscar, I'm sure he just did kind of slap this together, because I don't even know if I think they're probably, even though Oscar says there wasn't any doubts it would get canceled, I'd have to counter that and say he wasn't entirely sure. So could be part of it, but yeah. Anyway, let's go over some of your picks, man.
People attend boxing pay-per-views for the marquee match. They don't really care about the other stuff, as I have known from talking to people who even watch boxing, which is rare. So the first fight on the card, let me look at the Tapology page to see who the can is this guy's fighting. Give me 1 second. Dylan gave us a stat for Umalatov.
Yeah, really late. Appreciate that.
Minus 250, and his next closest was minus 400. Jesus H. Christ. So, I mean, people are going to do that for a Dagestani anyway. So we got to believe in miracles. We got to have an
Field of dreams, baby.
Every once in a while. Let me look at the very, 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 very bottom. Okay, goddamn. His name is Kevin Newman the second, and he's going against Aaron Robles, a 9-3 boxer. So, I mean, in MMA, that you can still consider a guy when he's in a contest, because hey, he might have some really good wins. When it's a 9-3 boxer, like a small record, and a fourth of those are by loss, and I don't even see what his wins are on his page. He's lost by doctor stoppage and unanimous decision in the last 2 professional fights that he's had. So it's clear that they're feeding this guy to the young up-and-comer Kevin Newman the second. And he's won by decision against a bunch of people. Let me look at their records. He beat a 14-5 guy, so he's just going to crush this guy. It's clear to me. This 9-3 guy has not won any of his fights professionally, and this kid Newman has beaten professional guys with decent records. So it seems clear to me that this kid's destined for a win on this one. And I see him doing it by round 2 KO, as he does against most of the guys that are cans against him. And they say these kids are prospects. I'm just making a little bit of a joke there. I see Newman by round 2 KO because it just seems like an utter mismatch. Let's look at the comments, by the way. There have been Denial is on a roll.
He's going off on you right here.
Yes, sir. Golden Boy does a good job building their fighters up.
We need for our channel.
Yes, especially for their boy, Ryan Garcia. Well, he just said 9-3 boxers should be shown to the fighter as motivation to quit. Hank just disappoints. Thank you very much. That's my specialty. Then we have Canal. What is his name? Let's see. Shamar Canal versus Pedro Penanuri. Both these guys stink, and one of them stinks just a little bit more. And that's Pedro Penanuri. 6-1 guy. The other guy's 5-0. You take that one very seriously when you're looking at boxing fights. Justin Valoria, let's see his record. 5-0. Which isn't much, but it's enough. And then his next guy was a 1-9. They clearly wanted him to win that one. And he has spent all of his time fighting losers when he's winning. 25-24. That's a split record. and then another one that's a 0-2. They have not given this guy any adversity. And now they're going to give him some adversity in Shamar Kanal, who just wins very even contests, but he wins. So I think it's clear that he's going to treat this guy just like he did the 3-1 guy he fought before and just barely edge it out again. Again, both these guys really stink. So I'm going with a guy who's got a nicer haircut and he's got a better record. So then we go on to the next fight. Amari Jones versus Armel Mboumba. Mboumba Matata. Mboumba got exposed in his last 2 fights, and one of them he was knocked out in brutal fashion. Amari Jones is KOing basically everybody and their sister, so I feel like Mboumba will just be another one on the list.
Sounds like a menace.
It'll be within 7 rounds as he beat his last guy. So I got him by round 5 KO Jones. Not John Jones, Amari Jones. Then again, he's got the Jones name, so you always got to be a little bit suspicious. But this guy Mboumba just seems like he's on a downward spiral. His last fight was a freaking draw against let's see what the guy's record is. 13-3, and he's having to draw to this guy. So he's not looking good, folks. Not looking very good. Amari Jones, I see, is more as a prospect, and I think he's going to win. No bias, just facts and unfiltered breakdowns. Thanks, Denial. Hey, it's a pleasure, man. I'm really glad that you're in the chat. Good stuff. This guy, this upcoming boxer is my lock. He's my lock for the card. Good old Johnny Canas versus Marcus Bose, who has a 2-5 record. Wow. He's had a lot of experience, so I definitely see Bose finding a way to get it done because he's gone against the best, and you know what? He knows how to beat him. Nope. I got Canas, round 1 KO. Bose is being served to him on a silver platter. He's been beaten by decision. He's been beaten by knockout by pretty much everybody that he's fought. On the amateur scene, he's getting finished by guys on the amateur scene, not even professionally. And for this KO machine, Canas, Bulls is in for a world of hurt, in my opinion, and I think he's getting crushed immediately. They are rigging the tables. They are stacking the deck, all in this kid's favor. And
wow, that's crazy for a boxing match.
I know. I can't believe it either. A completely one-sided fight in which a young prospect wins against a guy who's with a losing record. I can't believe it. They would never do this in MMA. Unless you're the PFL. Exactly. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because he barely won any of his last fights. And how did he win them? Let me look at how he won. He won them way back in the day. And one of them wasn't even on the professional scene. He won against Felix Fernandez, which is actually decent. He beat a 6-1 guy. And then he lost to a 9-0 guy, and then he lost to 7-0 guy. And then he lost to a 10-1 guy, and then he lost to a 1-0 guy. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's my ultimate biting evidence to show that this little kid, Johnny Canas, he's 2-0. So he's got to be even better. He's got to be like double the goodness. So it's clear that Canas is going to win, and it's going to be a round 1 knockout in brutal fashion because he wins all his other fights by round 1 knockout against Cans. So this is just one of his, is just all part of the game plan. It's a shame. Dealing with the comment of the night. Hashtag slopes. Dude, Isha's telling us what comment of the night is. Isha's pretending that he's one of our co-hosts. Well, guess what, Isha? I decide who gets comment of the night.
I told him, man, he's got the invite whenever.
Yeah. And it just so happens to be Dylan who does have comment of the night. I mean, that's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence.
I mean, that's kind of a given, I think.
Yeah, I just so happen to like it at the same time that Isha did. Anyway, our next bout, I have, let's see. I have Fulgum. And what does Fulgum mean? It is not full of gum. It's something else. He's a fighter, 10-0, boxer. Knockout. Round 2, round 1, round 2, round 3, round 6, round 2, round 2, round 4, round 1. He has beaten pretty much everybody he has ever faced by knockout. And the one guy he didn't beat was Alavente's Fox, who basically always goes to a decision with everybody, even the prospects. So that is not a bad win to have. The one moment that he had to go against someone who was a little more experienced, he beat the brakes off of him. Meanwhile, Christian Olivas, I was considering this as a lock as well, by the way. He has lost to he has lost his last 2 fights, both of them by decision. One of them was named Rowdy Legend Montgomery with an 11-5 record. So
That's a fucking awesome name.
Yeah. Oh my God. He's got like all the women in this shot. Look at this guy.
Reminds me of me in my younger days.
Yeah. Hey man, it's hard to win against an alpha Giga Chad. All right. He shouldn't be sulking with that loss. Actually, if he looks at the record, he should. But if he looks at how much he gets around, he shouldn't. Anyway, he lost then to Sean McCallman, who's a 15-1 guy, and that's only just 6 fights more than this kid who's fighting him. And he has not lost by knockout per se, but I think this kid's ability to knock boxers out, and some boxers who are actually quite experienced, tells me that he's going to get back on the KO train against this guy, Christian Olivas. I just think he's got too much power and is too young in his career not to be able to keep going against a guy who I would argue is worse than Fox, way worse. So give me Darius full of gum by knockout, and let me look at my docs to see what round specifically I had him in. Round 2 KO, just as he's done most of his guys dirty. Decision merchant, Olivas, if the merchant's trade was losses. So he's lost decisions against anybody. Expect a beating from Fulgham. Next, we got Sergey Derevyachenko. I got him by round 4 knockout. I think this guy's going to have a bounce back win after he's lost.
And who's he fighting?
He is fighting. Let me see. He's fighting Vaughn Alexander.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I do know Sergey is a brawler. Comes to fight every time.
He does.
I'm hoping he does get a win, but the problem with Sergey is he's pushed a little fast. Got the title opportunity against, I think he fought Canelo, and I think he fought Triple G, and he had a war with Triple G. So, those wars in boxing always take it out of you. So yeah, I hope, I'm interested to see his comeback fight, and I hope he pulls it off.
You don't have to hope with this one, because I guarantee that he's going to bounce back with a win. Why? Because he put on a really close fight with Jamie Munguia. And
Jaime.
What?
Jaime.
He had a close fight with Jaime Munguia, and he gave him he was coming back in certain rounds and stumbling him sometimes, and giving him a good fight. And so if he can give this guy a good fight, I think he's absolutely going to dominate Vaughn Alexander. The thing with Vaughn is that he just doesn't throw. The last boxing fight I saw him in, it was like fucking Namajunas versus Esparza 2. The other guy was throwing anything. The guy was way too
worst fight ever.
Exactly. So that is exactly why I'm giving that comparison. He just does not know how to throw. He's cautious. That's going to be terrible against a guy who's just coming at him with body shots and head shots. And he just doesn't seem to show any technique, and he's tentative like Bobby Green. Derievko went to a close decision with the world beater. And despite 38 years of age, he's very explosive. He's durable. He can crack anyone. He has really good work to the body against Jaime. And I think Vaughn Alexander has very little energy. He outpoints fighters, but he has no finishing potential. He went to a split in his last fight with a guy who didn't throw at him whatsoever in a very boring contest, where he was doing little pitter-patter shots. Neither man did anything of substance. I think he gets beat up by Sergey, likely finished, either getting his breadbasket destroyed or sent to the canvas with the left. Horrible split. By the way, when he went to that split decision, It went to the judges' scorecards. One judge gave it to him, and the guy on commentary was like, "What are these fucking people doing? Why is he? Why is he a judge? Why is this happening?" I think that was
Teddy
a
Atlas
terrible
style.
call. So it wasn't even a split. It was a unanimous decision with one judge having money placed in his pocket. The commentator was roasting Vaughn the entire time during their last fight. So they're going to roast him this time as well. Actually, they won't have time to because Sergey's going to crumble him with a body shot. So I got Sergey by round 4 KO. At the very least, a decision. I think this guy's talented and he's going to come back. They're making it easy for him. Let's see what Isha wrote. Brazil with the L. Let's fucking go. Ever since my guy Erikin lost, I want Brazil to take all the L's. They each look so good. He ate a front kick, toes and gut. Oh, that's a real shame, Isha. I'm crying about it, brother. I'm really sorry. All right. Then we got, I think his name is Charles. Yes, Charles Conwell versus, oh God, Nathaniel Gallimore. This is a pretty easy one to call as well.
These guys are two decently established names in boxing, so
yeah. I got Conwell by round 5 KO. He's a 2016 Olympian against Abreu, who was his last fight. He had a cut over his eye against a KO artist from the Dominican Republic, but still was able to come back with a decision win. He's tough. He's good at overhands in the clinch with the dirty boxing and allows himself to stand. But he allows himself to stand still a bit too much, especially against the big punchers, but manages to turn the tide often enough. Goes tit for tat with his opponent. He's got really good combo ability and defense. I think the only reason he went to a majority decision was because he got a cut over his eye. But the commentators were knocking that decision as well. And then I just, after the fight, I proceeded to roast the judges, and I said, "You think Sal D'Amato's bad? You couldn't judge a spelling bee, much less boxing." He beat up Abreu several times. He was dodging all the big blows. Whereas with Gallimore, if he engages with the clinch with Conwell, I think he gets knocked the hell out. He has a phone booth fighting style, which is terrible for him against a fellow phone booth fighter. He stands around to get hit too much to get hit. Now he has a good reach. He does. But so did Abreu, and he got beat up. I don't think Gallimore will be any better. Abreu got a KO in his last fight, which I think makes Conwell's decision win over him that much better. And it only makes it worse for Gallimore. He doesn't seem to get any KOs. He only gets KO'd. So I think Conwell will keep the fight very close with him. And once he's in the clinch, it's game over. He can do damage close and far away. Or the other guy can do damage, but not to finish enough to finish Conwell or seriously hurt him. I think Conwell will hurt him, and he will. And I think he'll do him just like he did Serhi and KO him within 6 rounds. So it just seems to me like he's a way better phone booth fighter and is really good close up. I think he's destined for like a minor championship, whereas this guy seems to be losing to everybody.
I mean, who knows? This one might be for one. WBA regional, continental, gold, silver, trinket
silver. We got to have it bronze. Give him 3rd place. It doesn't say it's for any title, but it might be for a tiny title.
Got it.
Oh, the next one's for a championship. It is the interim WBA super flyweight title with
say that 5 times fast.
Puppy power. It's old John Scrappy Ramirez. Put him up. Taking on David Jimenez. Ooh. Let's see what I've said for this one. I said Ramirez by round 10 KO. I pray his name wasn't taken from Scrappy Doo, and he doesn't fight like Scrappy Doo either. Great body punches. I think he picks his shots really well. I think he's sort of a sniper when it comes to his shots. He finds the body, he finds the head. He's very fast and he's very powerful. I'd say the one thing I encourage Scrappy not to do, which he does often, is leave himself wide open at times, going in for punches. I think that's his biggest weakness. If he has a good counter puncher against him, he's going to go to a very, very close decision, or that guy's going to crack him and catch him at some point. I think at one point while I was watching his fights, the judges said if he had a little bit more pop in his shots his opponent. They basically say he'd be in trouble, but his opponent did not. It's what they said against Louis Villa. His last opponent before that, Fernando Diaz, was quick to the punch against him, and he probably had power, which made it a very close contest. A lot of people said that Diaz won, which is sort of a knock against him. But he then won his last fight via KO and body shots. So this kid, he does have power. Will Scrappy walk into Jimenez's shots? No, I don't think so. I think Ramirez needs a fast opponent to beat him, and I don't think Jimenez is an opponent. I saw Jimenez's last fight. The guy, I wanted to mention this. There are some videos that you watch on YouTube to try to watch full fights back, and sometimes you have to deal with horrific shit in order to watch the video.
Yeah.
This guy, he had a head like a Super Mario 64 character, the introduction on the DS with the Mario head. Hey, it's Mario time. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. You know, that guy. This kid, he had like an emoji head where it's like the text, a 3D generated head, except it was just on his head the whole time. And between the rounds, he'd go, round 4. And then
Nice.
during the rounds, he'd be like,
Sounds like a quality stream. YouTube.
Very quality. And not
watching.
giving me any nightmares. Not at all. And so he was watching the fight back and making noises and grunting every once in a while. I was dealing with that. I said he's Idaho Skatesman if his face was a crap Google emoji. Boxing's truly dead when these guys are the ones reacting to their fights. Only offense was Sugar Ray Leonard pitter-patter shots for Jimenez. He doesn't have fast counter shots like Diaz, so Scrappy will have more power in his punches compared to Jimenez's last opponent, who has a bad build. Scrappy will break him. If his punches hit the guard Jimenez, he can easily be a human punching bag at times, like Scrappy's last opponent. He's only good on offense and not good on the defensive position, so he's not a good counter striker. And then he swings like a maniac with little impact. Scrappy picks him apart over time and either gets a late TKO from unanswered punches or wins a dominant decision to capture interim flyweight gold. Next, we got Bektemir, or Beck the Bully, versus, let's see, what is his name? P. Debombe. Didn't we have we had another boxer before that had a Debombe name. 22-0 French boxer, Pierre Debombe. What was that other guy's name? Mboumba. They need to form a tag team. Mboumba and Debombe. They'd be unstoppable. Here's my breakdown of the fight. I got Bektemir by decision. He looks like a boxing Uzbekistan version of Diego Lopez with his Justin Bieber haircut and his stone face. Floppy hair, great combos, and he has a lot of power. He picks his shots super well, and he often gets out of danger quickly, goes in for strikes, and then he backs up sort of like Devin Haney. He won the rematch with the one guy who beat him in style, picked him apart, still went to a decision, but it was a tough-ass Latin American, so that isn't a knock against him. I really like his penchant for body shots. That's a mark of a great technical striker, is when you can go to the body and to the head and in tandem and really pick the shots well and realize how valuable body shots are. He lost by KO to a perfectly timed and lucky shot. He's known as Beck the Bully. This is an interesting bit of trivia. He beat up Clay Collard when he was still a boxer and knocked him down and beat him by KO. So I will give it that to him because Clay Collard's a pretty good striker. Maybe not in boxing, but certainly in MMA. The comments for his fights were filled with Uzbekistani nationalists. So he's representing. He's got to make him happy, or else it's off with his head when he gets back to his country. His leader is going to take him out. Meanwhile, Pierre Hubert Debombe is a French boxer with an undefeated record, but I think he has the frame of a brick wall, sort of like, Apollo Costa or a Yoel Romero, where he's just very flat in terms of his build. And he has to be super duper up close to a fighter to land anything significant. He's a phone booth boxer personified. And I think if Bektemir can maintain his distance from Debombe, and he'll show him level. He's too elusive for a one-trick pony in terms of fighting to floor him during a contest. I think he's probably going to treat him like Sean O'Malley did Aljo and just keep him away, and then bam, 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 body shot, headshot, and pick him apart like a sniper. I think it doesn't look like Dubumbe does very well on the back foot when he's not the aggressor. I think it'll be a beatdown. I don't think he'll KO him, Bektemir. I've got Bektir by decision. I think the Frenchman will probably be too tough to get dropped since he has an undefeated record, but I think he is going to get beat up. He needs to look at also Dubumbe needs to look out for any debris in the ring in case he steps on something. And
well, they have shoes, so
yeah, exactly. So I got a Bektemir by decision. I think he's just going to pick him apart at range.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the ACA card is great, Isha. I wish that I was there, man. And you wouldn't want me crying in the chat. So I think it's for the best. Then we got the co-main event. Yes, we have the co-main event. Arnold Barbosa Jr. versus Sean McComb. Two established super lightweights going for the WBO Intercontinental Super Lightweight title. And I have in my card, I got Arnold Barbosa Jr. by round 7 KO. I think he's very methodical in terms of his striking, but almost to a fault. I think he's sort of plotty, but he finds his shots and he picks up the pace when he needs to. But the guard has a lot of openings for body shots and uppercuts. He can get hit. The power is there for him, especially with combos. Like when he gets a guy up against the ropes and he starts teeing off on him, the power is there. But he has to find his momentum first. I think McComb's fast and likely faster than Barbosa. But once he backs up, he usually gets hit. Usually gets hit to the body and to the head. And people start to style on him a little bit. He punches and punches opponents that and I think the punches that his opponents usually miss with him because he's too fast, I think Barbosa will land on him because he's got more technique and better timing, and he'll hit him hard. These other guys are just hitting him with little pillow fists that are hitting him on the side, whereas this guy is going to hit him right to the rib cage or right to the head, and he's going to start to feel it over time. The last guy that he fought was just get up close and hitting him with body, head, and just racking up combos on him to the point where he quit. And I don't think anybody else has been that tough or precise with their punches and really wailed on him like this other kid did, Gwyn. And I think Barbosa will do the exact same thing. I think Barbosa's punches are very precise. I think he's got the frame to eat McComb's punches because McComb only beats guys when he's at a distance and he's throwing from there. Whereas if you get up really close with him, it's highly doubted that he's going to try to knock you down because his reach is too long, and it just seems like once he gets up close, he doesn't have much power. Once things get close with McComb, he'll land his shots with ease. The one thing he needs to worry about is getting counterpunched. He needs to not come in, boom, and there's a left hook that drops him. He needs to keep it close and do a lot of dirty boxing. He needs to be careful at a distance. McComb has a long reach with power. And Barbosa will be calculated enough to avoid it, in my opinion. Once he presses up against McComb like he's a sandwich and he's that press grill that you put on the sandwich. Once he presses up against him, he'll avoid the hits. He won't avoid the hits. McComb won't avoid the hits like he did against Gavin Gwyn. And I think Barbosa will be money in the pocket, and I think he'll slowly pick McComb apart until he quits, probably in the later rounds. It is probably the closest fight on the card, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's for a trinket belt, so hopefully be a good one. Great breakdowns on all these undercard and rest of the main card fights. Appreciate all your research. I did literally zero.
Nice.
So,
I made up for it. I balanced
yes, and you can probably tell by how silent I was. So I'll let you cook for the rest of the main event, and then I'll give my take.
All right. Main event. Old Devin Haney versus
the Dream.
Yeah. Versus Ray. Or what's his name? Rayista or something? What does he call himself? King Ryan.
Shout out to CST.
Yeah. Old King Ryan. King Ryan Garcia. Thank
you for the support, CST.
Thanks, CST. So I think that Haney is an amalgamation of almost every one of the boxers that I've picked so far. He picks his shots well. He's strategic. He's fast. He goes for body shots, and he maintains a safe distance, but still ends up finding his mark. So he's good on the defense and on the offense. He's just really good at distance and then coming in for big technical shots. Unfortunately, he met his match, and people aren't talking about this. He met his match in Lomachenko.
Here we go.
The more technical and tactful striker. Lomachenko outpointed Haney for a good majority of the fight, and it was a clear win for him. Haney barely showed Loma anything, and he was completely figured out, and it was a clear win for him. As me and my dad were watching this. Okay, my dad paid $50 for that pay-per-view. We did not want to pay $50 for a robbery, and that's exactly what we got. We're never paying for a boxing pay-per-view.
Ridiculous.
Again. It's going to be streamed, damn it. So Loma was fully robbed by the judges. But Ryan Garcia. Hold on.
I'm waiting.
Ryan Garcia is no Lomachenko. I'll say that. He's no Lomachenko.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, he isn't. He wins off of single powerful shots, and he does not school his opponent, and I don't think he'll be schooling Devin Haney at all. I doubt he will win via lucky punch. Meanwhile, Haney will have surprising power, as he showed against Prograis, and he will destroy Garcia's breadbasket or go low and then go high like a Naoya Inoue. Not on the level of Inoue. Eventually, he will drop Garcia. I doubt he will win by knockout because I think Garcia is a tough SOB, and unless you're fighting Gervonta Davis, I don't think Garcia is going down by a body shot. I think Tank just has remarkable power. I think he's going to pick Garcia apart and leave him a bloody mess by the end of the fight. That'll probably be Haney's best game plan, is just to keep it range and go for little shots every now and again. He'll probably deliver. Garcia can be too frenetic and emotional at times in the ring, and eventually, and outside the ring as well, as we've seen clearly over these last couple months, or seen for his entire career. And eventually, all of his technique will go out the window like he usually does, and then he'll crumble. If his general IQ translates to his fight IQ, he's in big trouble. And right now, he's treating life like a Fall of the House of Usher character, and coking, getting sued, drinking wine like Paulo Costa. And though his workout regimen has been good, he's too scatterbrained to keep his head in the game against Haney. Even though Haney also has his dumb moments, he's more educated and skilled on the feet than Garcia, and I think it'll show. Expect to find Garcia in a local homeless encampment on the outskirts of Los Alamitos, CA, in 10 years. He's going out like Nick Cage or BJ Penn.
Nick Cage.
Take your pick. Nick Cage, the actor. He had millions and millions of dollars, and then he lost them all.
All right. Well, I appreciate the breakdown, and also, like, I'll just say quickly, I don't think anyone really is picking Ryan Garcia unless you're like 13 and you're on TikTok all the time. But you know, Devin Haney had a very close fight with Lomachenko. It was not a robbery. People are too quick to scream robbery. And I think that that was definitely easily his toughest boxing match. I don't think anyone's debating anything I've said so far. So picking Devin Haney is definitely what probably most people are doing, which is why he's most likely he is the betting favorite. I don't even need to look at the odds. But the whole build up to this fight has been disastrous. But I think
the best way possible.
Yeah, right. Like, I think it's like a morbid curiosity. People want to see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it's like the freak shows come to town.
I'm with him there, and I think Ryan in his in the Gervonta Tank Davis fight showed a lot of good things. Though he did end up getting stopped and dropped in a round previous. I think he did show a lot of good things. It is very hard to be a fan of Devin Haney with his fans, right? And I do like Devin Haney. I would consider myself, not a fan, but I'm very high on him. Even before he unified the 135-pound division and won his 140-pound title.
Style. Yeah, he did fantastic for Grace.
Yeah, and he's just a great fighter. His wardrobe choice is interesting to say the least. But
yeah, he's rocking that Skeletor look.
Yeah, so the problem with this fight is, could Ryan Garcia win a decision? I think it's very unlikely. And coming from the man himself, who said that he got bored in the Tank fight, and you notice after about the third round, he just kind of went at Tank, and that's the round. Or if I'm not totally correct on the round exactly, that's the round he got dropped in, and I think that might be his best strategy here, though, is just make it a brawl, because Devin's way too technical.
Find the left hand,
as Hank beautifully broke down. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say, man. I think Devin wins the fight, and I think he even stops Ryan in the later rounds. But I will say, with everything that's happened and just kind of all of the buildup, can you imagine if Ryan just catches fucking Tank, or if Ryan just catches Dev and just lays him out? I mean, we've seen Devin hurt in the Jorge Linares fight.
Of boxing.
Right. We've seen Devin hurt in the Jorge Linares fight, and that's really the only time we've seen him really wobbled. It was at the very end of the round. He walked back to his corner, wobbled. And a lot of people do say that Devin has no power. But what people don't know is that he came in for his fight against Regis Prograis. Do you know how much he weighed in the ring?
How much?
165 pounds.
Jesus H.
For a 140-pound title match. So,
oh my God.
Everyone says he has pillow fists. How did he beat Regis Prograis? Well, he knocked him out. So,
he beat him up. He knocked him down on points.
Oh yeah, you're right. He did knock him down a few times. And I love Bill Haney. I like Bill Haney. I like all his promotion. I like all his, whimsical sayings and shit. But
Denial isn't gonna like that.
This whole buildup has just been so interesting that if Ryan Garcia pulls this off, it would be amazing. And you know what? You gotta give credit to Ryan, because he's fighting these dudes. He's fighting Devin. He fought Tank.
Yeah.
We look at guys like Tio, Shakur, they haven't fought these guys yet. And shout out to Devin too. You got to give Devin the credit too in that same respect. Do I think that this is the right matchup for Devin? No, I do not. I don't think that you should give Ryan Garcia a title fight after beating who is that guy you fucking beat? Oscar Duarte.
Yeah.
I don't think that
he didn't even look good in that fight either. He was getting beat.
I mean, he ended up catching him eventually, and that was good. I remember I was actually watching that fight while I was in the arena for BKFC Salt Lake City. Right. So I literally was watching it on a little screen. I was watching
my God
BKFC.
You're quite the multitasker.
But I could see Devin stopping him in the later rounds. If Ryan does get the dub, it would be in the early ones. But ultimately, Devin Haney decision. Ryan Garcia wins 2 rounds. 110.
I think at some point Garcia's going to get knocked down. At some point,
sure.
Either the body or the head, and then he survives.
I wish I had more to say on the controversial topic of it. We do know that these guys have fought each other 6 times in the amateurs. That there's still debate over who actually won what fight, but I believe they split 3-3. So yeah, looking forward to this match, as I'm sure we all are. It's kind of the crown jewel of the weekend. Hank noted that
he's going to use some voodoo energy.
Yeah, Hank noted that there was maybe from the Rougarou. Hank noted that it's going to be a long night of fights. There's a lot of fights. They do some stalling. I'm sure we'll see a lot of Oscar.
Oscar Duarte, not De La Hoya. No, Oscar Duarte is going to be.
We'll probably see him after certain fights. This guy, he's just one of our great fighters that's coming up, and And I'm interested to see, what the fallout of this match is. And one thing that I do find very strange about this promotion, though, is to me it all seems like all roads lead to Tank. Every time they start talking about something, they go, "Oh, well, Tank, Tank." It's like, hey, how about you guys focus on each other and stop worrying about Tank Davis? If Devin wanted to fight Tank, I think that he and his father should have pushed a little harder for that, though they did try to make the fight with him and Shakur. There's always debate over who is ducking who. I mean, come on, man. Let's see Tank fight somebody with a pulse and somebody who, is interesting. That's what we need from him. So I would like to see Tank fight the winner of this fight. But yeah,
he fought prison and he won. He fought a prison sentence and he won.
Yeah.
So he's such a great guy.
I think we did a great job. I think Hank did a great job breaking down the undercard and the other fights in the main event or main card. And I think that's pretty much all we can say about our main event here.
Well, there is one more thing to say. Even though I do think that Garcia gets beat up in this fight, he outclasses Haney in a rap battle.
Agreed.
He is a master of improv. So Haney's in a world of hurt if they try to go for $1 million rap battle.
Haney's
I agree. He gets disgraced, and then he'll jump out a window.
Yeah, what was that rap, freestyle battle promotion they used to do? Maybe
doing what I do. All white, looking nice. Go it, come through.
Wow, I remembered it.
I don't think that Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, maybe after he loses, he can go to that freestyle promotion, whatever the fuck it was, and
he worked for Tyron Woodley Records.
But one thing that's gonna suck though is if and when he does lose, the conspiracy theorists are gonna be out, and I want Ryan to win just to see what his post-fight interview would be like.
He's gonna say he had Satan on his side
or something weird. I have no idea, but yeah, no, that's all I got really for this fight. And
dude, that Garcia is gonna come out on the throne with a crown on his head.
Probably he's King Rye, so good for him.
And I think they're gonna raise the platform way too high. They're like trying to come it from the bottom, and then they just keep going up. And then Garcia doesn't notice, and he just walks off.
That would be great. I would love that.
Comes a blood stain on the.
But yeah, man. I think that's all we got for you guys.
Rip Garcia. But it was a pleasure chatting with you again, Idaho. I think we covered
you too, Hank, and we'll be back recapping the fights Sunday or maybe Monday night. And thank you all for your support. And shit, man, this is the second episode of our little show, so it's just gonna get better from here. We're gonna improve. We're gonna have more visuals and stuff for you guys. So appreciate it. And
all this black space, all this purgatory space around you, it's gonna get filled out eventually with something that's probably visually even worse, but you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, guys. So appreciate all you guys, and
cannot wait to cover the Ryan Garcia win next week. Can't wait to cover the Ryan Garcia win. Yeah.
But on that note, I think we're out of here. And unless Hank has something else he wants to say. And behind me is a picture of Joe Louis and Max Schmeling.
Describe it.
And this is when Joe Louis knocked out the only man to beat him in his career by knockout, that is. And this was one of the most historic fights in all of history of any combat sport. So,
and I think we all know Haney versus Garcia is going to be on the same level as that.
Hell no, not even close, man.
Oh,
the Germans were invading Poland during this fight, and Hitler was trying to use this fight as promotion for why he would win the war. Max Schmeling was, wrongly accused of being a racist because he was German. Max Schmeling is a great human, and him and Joe Louis maintained a friendship after this fight. So this was one of the biggest fights there was. I mean, the president, Teddy Roosevelt, or actually, I don't know who the president was at the time, but he came into the locker room of Joe Louis and said, "Hey, man, got to win this one for the good guys." So
let me tell you, folks, Mexico's invading the United States.
Yeah,
all those rapist immigrants are coming in and taking the jobs. I saw them on the border the other day. So we need Haney. Let's go, Haney. Look at my boxer over here.
And, Denial, he knows it's Joe Louis, man. So anyway, with that, guys, we're out of here. It's been the Hank and Skate, the Skate Tank podcast. Appreciate all you guys. We're out.
We're out. 10-4. Good buddy.